Today's story, Herbert the Half-Slug. The first thing that Herbert noticed was the smell of smoke. Quick, darling, the house is on fire. Oh dear, thought Samantha, Herbert's rather attractive wife. It was such a nice hovel as well, the leg of the fire pit. Quickly, or as quick as slugs can move, they inched their way down the leg of the iron brazier. Hurry, darling, said the lucky Samantha, Slug, as she made it to the cool ground below. Just coming, squiggly poos, replied Herbert. Things were starting to heat up as poor Herbert, who was behind Samantha, found that if he didn't get his shoes on, he might begin to dry out. By the time he reached the ground and thought that everything was fine, his troubles had only just begun. Here I come, darling, made it after all, puffed Herbert. Ahead, the vast expanse of the white concrete stretched out immeasurably before them. Behind, the raging inferno galvanized the two small creatures, escaping with their lives. It was when Samantha looked behind that she noticed that things weren't quite as they were with Herbert. She noticed that something wasn't quite right with Herbert's rear end. He appeared to be sliming, but not his usual standard. Darling, she inquired, have you noticed something unusual? Raising his little head, tentacles quivering with eager expectation, he replied, No, sweetie. Why? Have you looked at your rear end? Not recently, but I know it's still there. Well, Herbert, I'm afraid that I have to tell you that you're not as much of a male slug as you used to be. What do you mean? Herbert exclaimed indignantly. Well, I'm afraid that you have rather singed your nether regions. And have you noticed something else? We've left somebody behind. Oh no, not Timmy. Where is he, darling? You've left him behind. You'll have to go after him. All right, slime of my life. I'll be right back, said Herbert, turning to go after little Timmy. But things were not well in the tiny one's camp. Being small and not as fast as his two grown-up parent slugs, Timmy didn't escape. He was, alas, no more than a small black object slumped beside the rather hot leg of the iron fire pit. Oh dear, thought Herbert, Timmy's no longer with us. The two gorgeous Samantha, on the other hand, was charging ahead, making her departure towards the black coolness of the white painted air brick, lying not too far away. Samantha, darling, I'm afraid that poor little Tim's won't be coming, exclaimed Herbert. What do you mean by that? Queried his wife, slowing in her haste for freedom. With his antennae doing the cha-cha-cha and his eyes literally standing out on stalks, Herbert knew that he would have to choose his next words very carefully. Well, he's not moving very much, or at all, to be really honest, and he may be a little bit dried out and crisp, Herbert explained sheepishly. Oh, Herbert, this is the last straw. Timmy gone, and he was our only slug. I loved him ever since he was a small black spot, but not any more. You've taken him away from us. How could you, Herbert? And be no more than half a slug. That's it, I'm off. Holding her head high and her stalks rigid, Samantha undulated away. Darling, darling, don't go. I know you don't mean all those things you said. Oh, yes, I did, Mr. Shrivel-Bottom, she replied haughtily. But, sweetie, we could have more small ones. I don't think so, not with you. I'm off to find a real slug to be with, one who's all gooey and full of slime, not burnt and shriveled like you. Too stunned to move or even say anything, Herbert watched her sleek, rippling body move slowly away. He knew it was no good chasing her. Once her mind was made up, there was no stopping her. She'd always been the strong one. Feeling terribly rejected, he pulled himself together, or at least a half that worked, and shuffled towards the cool safety of the stone wall. No one will find me here, he thought, and of course they didn't. Samantha, on the other hand, was having a great time sliming with the other slugs and little things inside the air brick. For all in all, that excitement, it had quite slipped her mind that this was the evening of the grasshopper's ball. The end. Thank you for listening. This has been Simon Watts. Take care, best wishes, and